We want to go live now to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. He is actually testifying on Capitol Hill right now. It is a budget hearing. We are monitoring that to see if he says anything about that canceled summit. He was just actually reading the letter from President Trump to the North Korean leader. Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan is also on Capitol Hill this morning. Margaret, I woke up this morning and I saw what the North Korean officials said in terms of warning of a nuclear showdown, calling the vice president of the United States a political dummy. Did this White House have any other option than to push back hard?
No, you're right. Rhetorically, they kind of boxed themselves in and then were in turn boxed in by the North Koreans. Remember, it was, as you've already been talking about, the Libya model language at the end of April that John Bolton, the national security advisor, started signaling that set off this chain of very negative press communications through their state-run media. But you also have to keep in mind what President Trump let slip the other day, which was he thinks that the Chinese have started to assert their own influence. They are the main patron of North Korea, and that has also marked the shift in taking a harder position on the part of North Korea in terms of their willingness to negotiate. Now, I was here on Capitol Hill with a top senator about to walk into that Foreign Relations Committee hearing with Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, as they learned that this summit was off. And there had already been a lot of conversation about whether the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor were actually on the same page here. Remember, it was Pompeo who has been twice to North Korea. There was some talk he might have to personally go a third time before that summit was to happen. This has been such an unusual round of diplomacy. This wasn't played safe like you've seen in the past with lower level officials working it up to the presidential level. This was a Hail Mary pass in many ways that many Republicans and Democrats either criticized heavily or credited the president for being willing to take the risk to meet face-to-face with Kim Jong Un. But there was always the question of what truly was North Korea willing to negotiate this time, because while the White House argued they had North Korea in a position of weakness economically, arguably North Korea has never been stronger in terms of their negotiating position because they have such a nuclear arsenal. So as you say, Norah, that rhetoric over the past few days for the vice president to have gone back and referenced the Libya model in particular was in many ways asking for this kind of response from North Korea. It's gotten personal, and perhaps some of that had to do with that called off meeting, if you remember, Mike Pence, the vice president, was supposed to have with Kim Jong Un's sister around the time of the Olympics.
You're right, it has gotten very personal. Thank you very much, Margaret Brennan.